Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are on week 4 of 5 of our series, and tonight we're learning about nourishment for the postnatal mom with our friend Paige.
Hi, everybody.
So, for tonight's agenda, we're going to welcome everyone. We're going to find a little bit more about the host organization, Smart Start. We're going to learn more about the guest speaker, and then Paige will get into her content. We'll spend a majority of time there, and then after, we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll do a brief survey so you can let us know how we're doing. And then with that will be a raffle prize and a handout from the guest speaker. And then we'll wrap up and see what is next in the series. So for Smart Start, we are an early childhood organization. We're located in Greater Nashua, so Southern New Hampshire. And our motto is working together to ensure that every child has the best possible start to life. So a couple of the things that we do is we help support local postpartum groups. So those are free at our libraries. We do an annual community baby shower where we serve about 80 to 100 families. We support different parenting groups. Some of them have play groups and other activities. And then we have a Welcome Baby project as well, where we want to give new or expecting parents some resources and welcome them to the community. And for our guest speaker, Paige, she got into the world of holistic health and nutrition after being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition in order to regain control of her symptoms. Her personal experiences led her to pursue a degree in holistic health sciences, and after earning this, she dove deeper into the world of holistic nutrition by enrolling in the Nutritional Therapy Association's Nutritional Therapy Practitioner program. As a NTP, she works to honor the whole person and to recognize that each and every body can heal. She takes a food first approach to health and wellness while also adding in lifestyle and well being supports that help you live your most nourished life. Paige believes that there is no greater investment you can than make an investment in yourself. And without further ado, Paige, take it away.
Thank you, Stevie. I really appreciate it. Hi, everybody. I'm Paige, as Stevie shared. I am a practitioner at Nourish Holistic Health and Nutrition. We're based in Bradford, New Hampshire, and we offer both in-person and virtual appointments. We do also see clients down in Manchester, New Hampshire, which I know is a little bit closer to Smart Start and Nashua's headquarters. So that's something that we also offer to clients. At Nourish, we take a really bio-individual whole food nutrition approach. And what that means is we really try and do as much as we can in terms of the food on your plate, lifestyle shifts, and movement shifts before introducing or adding in or asking you to add new things to your routine. In some cases, we may look at whole food nutritional supplementation as needed. We truly take a perspective of each and every body is unique. So no client at Nourish has the same protocol or recommendations. It truly is customized to you. We do also have the wonderful benefit of offering a sunlight and infrared sauna, ionic detox foot baths, and then we incorporate a little bit of functional lab testing as well. So we have the ability to order blood work and offer stool testing, food sensitivity testing, in combination with a couple of different options as well. So it's truly our mission to help each and every person feel our best. And we believe that the effort and the shifts that you make, that effort that you put in, you get the benefit out and see the benefit in various aspects of your life. Thank you, Stevie. So, in terms of postnatal nutrition, our perspective and our goal is that the number one goal for you is nourishment and replenishment. So, replenishing, what this means, nourishing your body from a caloric perspective, but also replenishing your nutrients, keeping the body warm to support optimal digestion, supporting the nervous system, and really focusing and encouraging recovery. Your body just went through a huge change. You did an amazing thing and over 9 to 10 months. And so we really want to focus on how can we replenish you as mom, but also as the family. So some key points that we'll take a look at here. Balanced, consistent meals provide stable caloric intake to provide you nourishment. So, what does a balanced, consistent meal look like? Well, we want to make sure that you're getting lots of protein, healthy fats, and bringing in sources of complex carbohydrates. What each of those things are going to do is provide support to your blood sugar. And I like to think of your blood sugar as your energy, kind of your vitality throughout the day. So, ideally, your blood sugar would look like, or you would be feeling consistent energy throughout the day. So, you're waking up and you're feeling ready to go for the day, and you're not noticing that crash or a shift in your energy between 2 and 3 p.m. You're not noticing headaches or sugar cravings. So, our goal for you as mom, knowing that baby is going to be up, sleep is going to be inconsistent, is how can we provide you with nourishment and support throughout the day? So, protein is going to feed your brain, keep that blood sugar and that energy stable, and provide the building blocks for physical and mental recovery. Another part of a balanced meal is bringing in healthy fats. So we love to use healthy fats as they can be really helpful for reducing inflammation, for feeding your brain, and then providing blood sugar stability. So a lot of times what can happen is that your blood sugar can come up and then very quickly drop down if you have just an isolated, what we like to sometimes call a naked carbohydrate. So if you think of just having an apple, that's going to break down into sugar, causing your blood sugar to go up. If we can pair that apple with something such as a healthy fat like nut butter or a slice of cheese, that's a really easy way to provide fats that help to lob off those spikes and drops in your blood sugar. So instead of your blood sugar going up and coming down, we're now going to see a more consistent wave to that blood sugar. So that's why we love fats, is they feed your brain, provide that blood sugar stability, and help to calm inflammation. Then the last part of that meal is really incorporating your complex carbohydrates and some nice veggies. Those complex carbohydrates are going to provide fiber, which fuels your microbiome, replenishes the gut, which has been depleted over the course of pregnancy. It's also going to provide fiber that keeps your bowel movements moving regularly. A lot of times, women will share that they may struggle with hemorrhoids or bowel movement issues post delivery. So, keeping up with your fiber is going to keep bowel movements consistent, give you energy. And again, those carbohydrates also provide caloric support for breastfeeding if that's part of your journey as well. So, as I started to touch on a little bit just a second ago, blood sugar stability is also going to be really important for supporting your hormones. So, your hormones ride the wave of your blood sugar. And postpartum, there's a lot of hormonal shifts already happening. So, we want to kind of get ahead of the curve and support your body even further with this blood sugar support. So, how we do that? Nourishing your body with those meals, providing healthy fats, and if you can, incorporating movement is going to be really key to supporting your body in that area as well. Then we look at, in this, warming, nourishing herbs and spices for recovery and replenishment. So, our practice likes to pull information from a lot of different sources. And one of the things that we have personally done a lot of research into is traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic practices. And in those areas, they really take a look at and prioritize the fact that we want to keep the womb or the body warm, especially a woman's body in terms of fertility, postnatal nutrition, but a lot of the areas for women, warmth is key. So, spices and herbs that we look at to incorporate there: cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, turmeric, cumin. These are all really nice herbs that you can rotate in, whether that's in a glass of milk, adding those seasonings in, doing it with broths and soups. And I'll share a ton of recipes and ideas at the end of this presentation. But these are all really wonderful things to just support and keep the body warm. Why that's referenced in traditional Chinese medicine is that's actually wanting to rebuild qi, which is considered your vital energy. So, nourishing, revitalizing, bringing warmth back to the body. One note here is, in a lot of postpartum recipes, they may reference ginger or how wonderful ginger can be for recovery. And it is a wonderful, incredible herb, especially for reducing inflammation and for circulation support. But one thing to note is that you would only really want to start to bring this back in once any postpartum bleeding has stopped, or if you're someone who lost a lot of blood during the delivery process. It would actually, we would recommend that you push out when you bring ginger back, just because it is so good it's of doing its job at increasing circulation. So we just don't want you to lose any potential excess blood or start to move more blood and then you feel even more depleted. So that's just one little note there. One really wonderful resource or recipe book is a book called Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. She has these wonderful recipes for broths, soups, stews, which I know this is a great time to be having this conversation. Not everybody wants to be having that in the summer, but in the winter, these are all really wonderful recipes to sort of incorporate and bring back into your life. One really wonderful company that we also have found a lot of benefit with is a company called Just Ingredients. To make life as simple as possible, they make bone broth packets and soup packets. So this is a really nice option that all you have to do is just add some water, and that's a super easy meal. I like to call that a one-handed meal because all you have to do is dump the packet into some hot water, and that can be a meal for you when you're on the go, just in a rush, trying to get some nourishment into your body. Another reason why warming herbs foods are really nice for the body is that it's a bit easier on your digestive tract too in the postpartum period. As your body is shifting, digestion is shifting, the small intestine and the large intestine have been under a lot of pressure as the body is kind of coming back into finding its new homeostasis. The easier that we can be on that digestive tract, the more able your body is able to absorb nutrients, get the benefit of your food. So that's another really nice benefit of leaning more on warm, pureed, soft foods in this period. Another thing that we'll take a look at is your micronutrients. And micronutrients are things, so your macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, your carbs, and water is another macronutrient. And then your micronutrients are things like your minerals, your vitamins. So your vitamin D, your vitamin A, these are all things that really we want to look at for how can we give your body the spark plugs, the building blocks for rebuilding and replenishment. It's very common that we see magnesium deficiencies, zinc deficiencies, vitamin B6. These are all very common deficiencies in the postpartum period, but they're also very essential for physical recovery from childbirth. And also, if breastfeeding is part of your journey, just keeping up with breastfeeding supply or breast milk supply. So our minerals are like our body's spark plugs. So we want to be able to bring back those micronutrients. And how do we do that? Veggies, root veggies are really nice sources of this. Pink Himalayan sea salt is also a really nice option for trace mineral support. There's about 72 to 84 different trace minerals within pink Himalayan sea salt. So that's a nice option to cook with it. You can actually add a little pinch to your water. It shouldn't taste like you're drinking the ocean, just like there's a little tad bit of salt in there. And that's all really easy ways to start to bring back some micronutrients for recovery. Then the last point there is all about hydration. So hydration is going to make sure, or adequate water intake is going to make sure that all of your nutrients, your vitamins, your minerals that we just talked about get to the right places. I like to think of hydration or optimal hydration as if we compared your body or the cells within your body to either a crunchy grape or a shriveled up raisin. Ideally, all of your cells are that crunchy grape, so the water is able to get into the cell and support your body from a cellular level instead of that water's bouncing off that shriveled up raisin and then you just pee it out or you have to go to the bathroom. So minerals like the pink Himalayan sea salt support, electrolytes if that's part of your journey, and that's something to speak with your provider about if electrolytes are supportive for you. Every cell in your body has a sodium and potassium pump on the outside of it. So adding in minerals opens up that cell wall and allows the water in and nourishes your body or from a hydration standpoint on a cellular level. So that's a really awesome way and kind of easy support to bring in to just bring micronutrients, minerals, and start to nourish your body in that way. So, to wrap that all up, things to focus on here, keeping the body warm, trying to bring in consistent meals throughout the day, and then warming foods and broths are a really nice place to start with to support your body from the whole level. Ready for you, Stevie, whenever you are. Thank you. So, in touching on building a balanced plate, this is kind of what we look at for an easy way. I like to think of this as a square or a checkbox how can I pull from each of these sections to create a meal? So our non-starchy veggies are going to be things like zucchini, carrots, broccoli. Starchy veggies are things like, or carbohydrates here. So breads, pastas, sweet potatoes, potatoes, squashes, root veggies, those are going to be really nice supports and options to start to build and fuel your plate. And then your proteins are going to be things like chicken, seafood, lentils, dairy. These are all really nice sources of protein that, again, build your brain, nourish your muscles, provide that support and stability to your blood sugar. So that's the three parts of your plate. And then the very last thing that we want to kind of add in and touch on are healthy fats. So healthy fats can be things like avocado oil, coconut oil, nut butters, butter itself. Healthy fats also come from nuts and seeds. So these are all really nice rotation of foods that you can start to bring in to build your meals. One note here is that nuts and seed oils can be really sensitive to heat. So making sure to either store them away from the stove where you're cooking or in a darker bottle if they're going to be out on the counter so that they aren't being affected by the light. So a lot of times certain nuts and seed oils like coconut oil or olive oil, avocado oil, they may come in a light or plastic container. And if you can opt for either putting those away or buying them in a darker container, that's a really nice way to just make sure that those fats are stable and you're still getting all the benefit from them. So some very common nutrient depletions that we see in the postnatal period, but also in during pregnancy as well, can be protein, calcium, iron, folate, and vitamin D. So these can come from, and it could be because of pregnancy, it could be dietary. Sometimes your body is working really, really hard. So how can we start to replenish and support the whole body? As we were talking, just started talking about on the last slide, your protein can be sourced from a variety of different places. Lean meats are really wonderful sources. So turkey, beef, chicken, seafood, all great sources. Bone broths and stocks can also be really nutrient dense sources of food. So bone broth provides amino acids to nourish the body as well as benefit your gut health. So if you ever heard of drinking bone broth, for your gut health, what it does is it starts to work on the lining of your small intestine. So if you ever heard of leaky gut refers to this breakage in the lining of your small intestine. So if compare that to my hand, ideally your gut looks like this. There's no separation between any of my fingers. A leak gut looks like this. So now if this is your digestive tract on this side and this is your bloodstream on this side, food starts to move through into the bloodstream and then your immune system recognizes that it's there and says, wait, this shouldn't be here. This should be in the digestive tract. So bone broth or anything that's rich in collagen sort of acts like plaster or glue that goes in between those cells that line your small intestine and really works on sealing and supporting that gut lining. So where that's really important postpartum is that there's been a shift in that small intestine. The beneficial probiotic bacteria in your gut have shifted. So things like bone broth, collagen, protein are going to be very nice sources to rebuild and repair that gut lining. So that's why bone broth stocks can be wonderful. They also contain an amino acid. It's called glycine, which can help improve your mood, your sleep, the health of your hair, skin, and nails, and also, like I said, works on the gut lining. Now, calcium. So, calcium supports your skeletal system, brain health, immune system recovery. It's also essential for baby if you are breastfeeding. When mom's dietary intake of calcium is low, the body will prioritize pushing that calcium from the bones and the teeth to support baby. So for some moms who are breastfeeding, they'll share that they have some dental issues. It might be new cavities, feeling that their teeth are more sensitive, or they may experience bone density issues, carpal tunnel. Those can all be signs of some calcium deficiency in the diet. So bringing that back through dairy is a great source. Spinach is a great source of calcium. Nuts and seeds can be a great source of calcium. So those are all areas that we want to make sure that mom is supported so that baby can be supported. Then we take a look at iron. So iron supports consistent energy levels, encourages recovery, and supports the immune system. It's not uncommon for women to experience anemia, and it's especially important for you to replenish your stores of iron if there was a lot of blood loss during delivery or if you have a prior history pre-pregnancy of anemia. In for moms, it will act mom's body will prioritize supporting baby's iron intake. So baby is pretty much always set in terms of their iron that they're getting through breastfeeding, but a lot of times mom loses out. So rich sources of iron are going to be beef, spinach. Venison's a great source of that as well if you don't mind eating that. And pairing your iron with vitamin C is really helps with the absorption of that iron. So you get the most bang for your buck when you compare if you're having a burger, if you compare that with spinach that you've cooked with lemon, that can be a really nice way to make sure that you're absorbing your iron. Other rich sources of vitamin C, so citrus fruits, like I just touched on, lemon, orange, wonderful. Kiwis are great, and bell peppers are all really rich sources of vitamin C. So we naturally sort of do this when we pair meals. We'll add those bell peppers to a salad and then put our iron-rich meat on top. But that's a really great source of iron to lean on in postpartum. Then we talk about folate. So folate is an essential, it's a lot of times added to prenatals because it's essential for cellular repair, generating the growth of new red blood cells and neurological health. A lot of times iron and folate go hand in hand, so being able to support both can really support mom from a cellular level. Folate is also necessary for the production of new DNA, and new DNA is needed for new cells, so that is why it's added to prenatals. Folate is really richly found in liver, legumes like beans, chickpeas, lentils, beets, and greens. So it's dark leafy greens are going to be great sources of folate. So turnip, collard greens, awesome sources of folate for you and for baby. And then vitamin D is actually a lot of people will say it works more as a hormone than it does as a vitamin. So adequate levels of vitamin D protect the newborn baby from tetany, convulsions, and heart failure. Vitamin D also works in conjunction with calcium to support healthy bones and teeth and is essential for maternal health. So, wonderful food sources of this. Eggs, egg yolks, specifically fatty fish, shellfish, and butter are all wonderful sources of vitamin D. So, to take all of this, what are some foods to really focus on? Eggs are wonderful. They're rich in choline, which is wonderful for both you and for babies' mental health and support, especially in pregnancy. Choline is a wonderful thing to try and rotate into your diet. Wild caught seafood is also a really micronutrient dense source of protein that contains omega fatty acids, iodine, and zinc. In the postpartum period, it's also very common for women to experience some fluctuations with their thyroid because the brain is communicating to the thyroid and it used to have a baby there that it was supporting. And now it's getting used to, okay, there's no longer baby and I'm just supporting one person. So we tend to see a lot of fluctuations with the thyroid. Now, the thyroid relies heavily on iodine for optimal function. So rotating in the seafood sources is a really nice, easy way to support the thyroid in this period. One note about seafood is that you do want to try and focus on lower mercury sources of fish. So salmon, pollock, flounder can all be really nice sources here. A couple other foods to touch on, grass-fed butter and pasture-raised dairy is going to be wonderful, rich sources of vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 is very important for making sure that calcium gets to the right place, and that it's also very anti-inflammatory. So grass-fed butter is one of the best sources of vitamin D if you can get that in. And then dairy helps to support the immune system and provide beneficial gut bacteria. So lactobacillus is a certain probiotic strain that's found in a lot of yogurts. Sauerkraut and kimchi can also be really nice options here too. Any questions so far? Are we doing okay? Good. Okay, awesome. So another really big area of focus that we want to support mom with and the whole family postnatally is mental health. So we tend to see a lot of fluctuations in nutrient status, mineral status specifically, and like we touched on in the first slide, minerals are like your body's spark plugs. Your brain loves minerals, it wants to get that support. It also loves to feed off of your essential fatty acids. So, things that we want to take a look at here in terms of supporting your whole body from a nutrient perspective: vitamin D, trace minerals, essential fatty acids, choline, like we just touched on, and B vitamins. Some other nutrients that we can sometimes see depletions with are folate, iron, selenium, and zinc. These have all been associated, nutrient deficiencies in these areas have all been shown to lead to a higher risk for postpartum depression because they're all essential for serotonin production. So if you ever heard of dopamine and serotonin, these are neurotransmitters within your brain that affect your moods, your energy levels, and all of these things. We want to make sure that your body has the cofactors and the nutrients to set you up to support optimal production of those neurotransmitters. So, vitamin D, the best source of vitamin D is sunlight. We can also get it from certain foods. Dairy can be a great one. Egg yolks is an awesome source for this. But if you can't get outside, those are the things we would encourage you to lean on. And I know that's tough being in New England, but we'll get through it. Trace minerals. I really look at calcium, magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus. So your calcium is, like I said, going to come from dairy. Magnesium is found really richly in dark leafy greens. Potassium, a really great source of potassium is coconut water, potato skins, and aloe juice. Aloe juice, however, is not safe if you are breastfeeding. So that's just one thing that if that's part of your journey, you would not want to add in any aloe juice. And then phosphorus is a really rich source of minerals as well. Then we can take a look at your essential fatty acids, specifically choline. So fatty acids, specifically DHA, are very important for the formation of neurons and for the synthesis of a certain brain lipid. It's called phosphatidylserine. This is really largely impacted. It's been studied and researched in terms of ADHD and really calming down the brain. So the more fatty acids and DHA that you can get in throughout the body, that's and through your diet, it's going to be a wonderful sourcing. So beef tallow ghee, which is the clarified version of butter. So if you do have any dairy sensitivity, ghee is a really nice option because how ghee is made is they melt down butter and then they take off the lactose or the excess fat that kind of accumulates on the top. And then you're left with this really nice, in Ayurveda, it's actually called liquid gold. So it's really tastes very similar to butter, I promise, but it doesn't have as many inflammatory parts to it that some people react to with dairy. So a couple other sources there, coconut oil, avocado oil, and high quality olive oil can also be really nice options for essential fatty acid support. And then choline, as noted there, is really wonderful for memory and attention. So it can be obtained from grass-fed dairy, egg yolks, beef liver, cruciferous veggies, nuts, and legumes. And then B vitamins. So B vitamins fuel something in your body called the methylation pathway. So your methylation pathway really affects mood and mental health because it affects brain health. It's also essential for remembering your dreams. So if you are someone who doesn't remember your dreams at night, that can be a sign that sometimes your body may not be methylating optimally. So B vitamins fuel that methylation pathway. Kind of like to think of the methylation pathway as those kids' Connects blocks that kind of lock in when you turn them and then they click out as you move them through or as kids play with them. It's almost like the methylation pathways. It needs those cofactors to be able to click in and click out and function and keep rotating optimally. B vitamins are found really richly in unfortified nutritional yeast, which is typically used as a substitute in vegan foods as a substitute for cheddar. I won't tell you it tastes exactly the same, but it's still a really nice option to rotate on your veggies or sprinkle on your eggs. So unfortified nutritional yeast is an awesome source of B vitamins. Beef liver is a really nice source of B vitamins. And then typically most foods that are high in iron are also going to be high in your B vitamins. So venison, lamb, beef, ground turkey, these are all going to be really nice sources of B vitamins to fuel that pathway, fuel your brain, and optimally support mental health. And then the last thing here is looking at more grounding foods and activities that can help to bring the sense of stability and rootedness in a period where everything can feel overwhelming. So much has shifted. So, how can we bring in the sense of grounding and stability? So, your root veggies are really nice sources of bringing this support in. So, parsnips, sweet potatoes, beets. I have a picture of carrots there. Stewed fruits and veggies can also be a really nice source of this. So, apple pectin. Apple pectin is utilized. It was first developed by or utilized by a certain doctor who works with autoimmune patients. And in this, what he found is that apples, when they're cooked down with their skin still on, release something called pectin. And that pectin almost works like collagen in the gut lining, as it goes in and it works on healing and sealing any disruptions or any breakage in that gut lining. So apple pectin, if you're not someone who enjoys drinking bone broth or you are vegan or vegetarian, apple pectin can be a really nice option for supporting your gut lining. You can do just make that with some cinnamon, pears, cooked down. Same thing with cinnamon and butter can be a really nice treat. And then sweet potato brownies are a really nice way also to get in some root veggies. It's a little sweet treat for you too. So that's awesome. All set there. Thank you. Now, if breastfeeding is part of your journey, put together a few ideas for you as mom and for supports for foods to start to rotate in. For breastfeeding, hydration is going to be key. So whether that's water, if you enjoy herbal teas, those can be wonderful. Coconut water is another way to start to rotate in and get just different hydration because we don't always want to drink water. And then that can be a all really nice options for supporting your minerals and keeping your hydration up. Complex carbohydrates, so where we were talking, and then carbohydrates and starchy veggies can all be really nice sources of fueling your body when breastfeeding. So oats are going to be a really nice source of complex carbohydrates here. Brewery's yeast is going to be awesome. Food-based galactagogues, like I noted here. So galactagogue or galacta, this word comes from the Greek word galacta, which means milk producing. So galactagogues is any food, herb, or drug that increases the production of breast milk. So for food sources, you can lean on oats and lentils if you're having a lower breast milk supply. And then there are a few things when breastfeeding that we always share with clients in terms of what could be signs in baby of potential food sensitivity. So this can look like change in their bowels, they're spitting up, or there's any sensitivities that you're noticing. A few foods that we can see that can sometimes irritate baby: egg, lactose, dairy, or casein, onions, and garlic tend to be foods that lead towards more sensitivity in babies. So that's just something to consider and keep in the back of your mind if you're noticing that in your baby. Sometimes, and this is less common than those other allergens that I just spoke about, but fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir can sometimes cause a little bit of digestive upset in babies. So although they're wonderful for you as mom to support the pre and probiotic bacteria within your gut, sometimes they can just actually be too strong for babies. So it's just another thing that if that's something you're consistently consuming and you're noticing that digestive upset or the spit up, it's something to consider to support you and baby optimally. And then, I know that all of this is wonderful information. It probably feels empowering to know, okay, what are the things that I can really focus on? Sometimes the mental load of nutrition is there, and you don't want to figure out what am I going to have for dinner, lunch? Now I have all of these things changing. So these are a few of our best tips and tricks for trying to reduce the overall mental load of nutrition and things that you or a partner or family members or friends in the community can start to help you and support you with. One of the best options is either pre-prepped smoothie or shake packets. So that means throwing in some protein powder or pre-done veggies, fruits, and things, and pre-putting that in, whether that's a plastic baggie or containers that you already have at home, and throwing those all in the freezer so that the only thing that you have to do is grab that jar, that bag, whatever you use to put everything together, add some milk to it, and then either shake it up or throw it in your blender, and then you have a meal already done. So pre-prepped smoothie packets or jars can be a wonderful support here. And put in quotes, one-handed snack. So trying to have things that all you have to, if you have baby in one hand and you only have one hand free, what are things that you could already grab for? So pre-cut veggies and fruit, nut butter packets can be a really nice option here, or broths, purees, things that you can sip on. A lot of times soups, if you've already pureed them down, you can actually sip on them if you're just trying to make sure that you're consistently eating throughout the day. Freezer meals, sometimes they get a bad rap, but if you do it right, you can make some really nice recipes and double and triple those batches so that they're already in the freezer. And maybe at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the day, you're able to move that to the fridge, and then that's your dinner for later on. So, soups, purees, rices, quinoas, pastas, those are all easy things that actually hold really well in the freezer too, that you can add in and pre-prep. And then sheet pan meals, slow cookers, and crock pots are also going to be your best friend. So we'll share a few ideas for some sheet pan meals. Anything that you can find that's going to be from a slow cooker, a crock pot. There's a really wonderful resource. Her name is Cassie Joy Garcia. Her company, her website is called Fed and Fit, and she has on her website weeks and weeks of meal ideas that are just sheet pans, or they're just one sort of protein, or the only thing that you need to cook with is a slow cooker or a crock pot. So that's one of our favorite go-tos for just being able to simplify down what you're using so that meals are already pre-done. It makes life a little bit easier. Another thing to lean on that I pictured there is either mason jar salads or smoothies. So kind of same premise as those pre-prepped smoothie packets, is just trying to put in your fridge or freezer things that are already pre-done. So what you can do is take a little bit of a carb. So let's say we add quinoa to the jar, and then on top of it, we choose a veggie or a green. So I'm going to add spinach to mine, and then maybe some cucumbers, and then a protein source. So that could be a little bit of deli turkey, or it could be chickpeas that you already had. So trying to add things to a mason jar to really simplify things down so that it's already done, and you grab it, shake it up, and then just enjoy it with a fork. And then the last option, if this is something that's an option for you and your family, is leaning on meal delivery services or kits. So Hungry is a really great company, Factor 75, Sunbasket, or HelloFresh. These companies are all slightly different, but you can typically modify them if you have any dietary needs, such as gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian. You can also They can either send you weeks of already pre-prepped meals or just the items that you need, snacks that you might need. Thrive Market is another really nice resource it's almost like an online grocery store, very allergen friendly, very dietary friendly. So if you need to pick and choose, this is the time to lean on those services if you're able to just take that mental load off of you and your family during this time. So here, tried to kind of put together some sample meal ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So breakfast can look like, and these are all, again, foods that incorporate all of the nutrients and the vitamins that we've been discussing. So breakfast, we can start with either overnight oats with a protein powder or collagen peptides with some nut butter. So again, getting that carbohydrate with some healthy fats and some protein to keep blood sugar stable throughout the day. So that's what each of these meals really focus on, is trying to grab something from all four of those squares of that plate that we shared in the beginning. Another option could be either a warm chia pudding with stewed apples, or your other favorite fruit. You can kind of interchange there with nut butter, eggs with chicken sausages and greens, breakfast casseroles, frittatas, or egg cups. So breakfast casseroles, frittatas, and egg cups are one of my personal go-to meals, because you can change it up week by week. Change up the veggie, change up the protein, add in a different cheese, add a different sauce or seasoning, and you have a new meal, new variation for each week. And that makes sure that you're getting in all three of your macronutrients that are essential. For lunches, leaning on things like bone broth soups or stews. A casserole is another nice option, pre-doing things, changing up the protein, the veggie, and the carbohydrates. So another variation of this could be chicken, carrots, and quinoa, or a turkey, quinoa, and veggie soup. For snacks, really important with snacks, like we talked about in relation to blood sugar, is trying to pair off different macronutrients. So pairing either a protein with a fat or a carb, or a carb with a fat or a protein, is going to keep that blood sugar stable, keep your energy stable, and your blood sugar consistent. So energy bites can be a really nice support here. Dates are a nice sweet treat with either some nut butter or ghee. A muffin, same thing, paired with nut butter or ghee, or whether that's grabbing on to a little protein bar, can be a really nice source here too. And then for dinner, focusing on a protein, really trying to center your dinner around a protein, again, with those warming soups and stews. So salmon with bone broth rice, curry with root veggies, bone broth chicken pot pie with root veggies. So you'll see here that I used bone broth a lot because of how nutrient dense bone broth is. If you don't enjoy bone broth or you are not eating animal protein, you can always lean on a veggie stock or a veggie broth and use that to cook your rice, your pasta, quinoa. That's a really easy way. And for the most part, you shouldn't taste it. So it's just an easy way to kind of sneak in some minerals into you and your family's bodies. And that's all.
Thank you so much, Paige. I'm processing. I just learned a whole lot of
Yeah.
information.
Thank
Um,
you.
we're gonna open it up for Q&A, so feel free to drop anything in the chat or come off of mute. And until we get some questions, I have a couple. Um, so I guess one of the beginning slides when you were talking about the different spices, it got me thinking, across your research and your experience, have you noticed that different cultures or different cuisines are better for postnatal mom? So like a lot of the spices that you
Yeah.
listed remind me of like the Indian culture, and not a lot of them are in like the typical American culture. So anything
Yeah.
about culture or cuisine at all? I don't. That's a long-winded question.
No, it's a great question. I think just in terms of what applying those traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic principles, a lot of so that is going to come from more Eastern countries and foods. So Indian food is really wonderful with curries and soups and stews and broths in that way. So I think we do typically see like more Indian food, some Mexican food can also be a potential player there too. But yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, it got me thinking. I was like, oh, a lot of these things aren't typical, United, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm stereotyping, like burgers and pizza, like
Yes.
there's that doesn't seem
Yeah.
very nourishing in general, and especially for, someone that is growing a baby or just pushed out a baby too. So yeah, that got me thinking of the different, cultures and countries in general and how they support um, you know, families and parents and moms. So it's interesting maybe some of certain cultures are already like they already have that ingrained because they're just eating better too compared to what we think of as the typical American cuisine. Another question I had, I really appreciated the mental load um,
Yeah.
slide and how to reduce that. I think that's something that I would have loved to know 3 years ago. Hindsight, always 2020. But are there any other like tips and tricks? Like, let's say you do the meal prep or you do all of that, but to actually get mom to eat. So, I think I've heard a lot like eat when baby eats or sleep when baby sleeps, but that's not
Yeah.
always realistic. So, are there any other like tips or tricks? Like, yeah, you could set alarms on your phone to kind of remind you to eat, but I'm thinking, trying to reflect on my postpartum journey, that me eating, even though I was producing milk, that was my always my last priority for me.
Yeah.
So any other like tips or tricks that parents could, or habits that they could kind of start to make sure that they are prioritizing their nutrition because it's so important on so many different levels.
Yeah, I think if the one place to start with that is maybe trying to set a routine or something to cue mom or partner to say, okay, have we all ate throughout the day? So I just, I'm getting up to grab XYZ for baby, like, and I do this every morning around this time, or we have to go to this a certain thing throughout the day, can we set up a almost like a physical reminder of have I eaten? Have I checked this box throughout the day? Like when I'm going up to change my clothes, kind of getting that mental cue in could be really nice. If you do have a partner or family member or someone supporting you, maybe trying to lean on them to say, okay, has mom eaten today? Have we eaten as a family? When was the last time we had dinner? So trying to really rely on other people, I think can maybe pull the load off of mom too in that way.
Yeah, definitely. Catherine has raised her hand. Catherine, come off mute if you'd like.
Uh, Hello.
Hi.
One of the things that I was reminded of was when I was breastfeeding with my daughter. That was 4 years ago now, but I was just like a little squirrel, and I would keep healthy snacks in like all rooms of my home, and like water
Yeah,
bottles
great
with like
idea.
fresh water, just because I would chronically forget, right? And so it's just a helpful thing for me to have them within arm's reach, like all the time.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Now that you're saying that, I just had like a flashback. I was also pumping, and I remember I had a little basket of snacks. So every time I would sit down and put on
Yeah.
my favorite TV show, so I'd have positive association, I had a snack basket. Not that I
Exactly.
necessarily ate out of it, but it was a good like exactly what you said, kind of like habit stacking. Like what can you associate it with?
Yes, I've
Um,
heard of some people having like a cart that they'll utilize and just either move that, have like a downstairs cart, an upstairs cart, and trying to replenish that with snacks or little things to remind everyone, but especially for mom to eat with everything going on.
right. You shared a couple of really great resources too. Is there anything like any type of website that you've recommended before? Like if mom was concerned, because you mentioned like the ginger, for example. And obviously, first they should consult a doctor. But is there any type of website you've come across that you can put a food into it and see if it's safe for mom to consume either pregnant or postpartum,
I
because
wish
googling can is very anxiety provoking, so I know
yeah,
that's what I was doing a lot, but like any
yes.
any other data or websites you can recommend that you know of?
I wish I had a better answer off the top of my head. I can definitely get back to you and everyone on the call if that's a specific question, but unfortunately, a lot of it has come from just learning and reading and researching. But I think a lot of the data on either like the CDC website or like the Healthline has a really great kind of conjunction or a pretty exhaustive list of things that cover those areas.
And I think last question for me, so again, feel free to throw in the chat or come off mute. Um, the last question that I think I have is like bone broth you mentioned a lot. And I think for people that have like the all or nothing mentality that perhaps
Yeah.
are like, I have to make the bone broth, I have to grow the carrots and
Yes.
um, so I guess like insight on is store bought, which you've definitely addressed through the presentation. Is store bought things okay? Is there anything that people should be looking for, like in particular? Like, I don't know, bone broth, is there even sodium in it? Like, do you have to pay attention to that? I'm not really sure. But
No,
like
it's
people that might want to like feel the need to maybe do everything holistically and all natural, and it might not be, realistic.
yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with the bone broth is just looking at the sort more of the additives or things that they may add in. So just not a ton of excess sugar or ingredients that you don't recognize. For the most part, bone broth options are really clean because it is truly just chicken bones, beef bones, and then some companies will add in, or certain recipes will add in spices like onions and parsley and different things to just give it more flavor. There is probably a higher sodium content than potassium. So that's if that's something that a provider or a midwife has shared, okay, that's something to be cautious of. Knowing your health history, I think I would just take a look at the milligrams there, but I don't believe it's so elevated that it should be of concern. I think truly there are so many store-bought options that are really great. Dr. Kelly Ann's, um, oh goodness, there's so drawing a blank because there's so many. I can think of all the packages, but there, for the most part, bone broth is very clean and it just sourcing is going to be pretty consistent throughout all the options.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to the survey portion of it. So right now I'm going to drop a link in the chat, but if you're on your computer viewing this and you want to bring out your phone, you can scan the QR code as well. But if you all wouldn't mind taking this 1 minute survey just to let us know how we did. And once you complete that survey, you'll be entered into a raffle. And for this raffle, it'll be a collection of recipes and the option to have $10 off of an initial consultation. So once you go ahead and submit that, just throw your email in the chat so we know that you're done. And then as soon as you go ahead and submit this survey, you'll get a pop up of Paige's handout that she has. And you can take that, you can screenshot it, you can save it and print it later, and hopefully utilize it as a reminder to implement some of the things that we learned together this evening. And then, Paige, while they're doing that, do you want to share a little bit about what is in the initial consultation, some of what that might entail?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So our initial consultation, we spend a good 30, 40 minutes of getting a full health history from you. So from birth to now, how did you get here? What are your symptoms? What are the things that we can support you with? And how can we start to draw patterns and connections within your health history? And then after those 30 to 40 minutes, it's a full 90-minute appointment. We spend the rest of that diving into our approach at Nourish, what is a functional or integrative perspective on health and nutrition, sharing kind of what our foundational principles are. You'll go home with that appointment, a full grocery list, recipe ideas, meals, snack ideas, some lifestyle supports, shifts that we recommend. And like I shared in the beginning, every protocol and recommendation that we make is truly tailored to you. So that's what our initial consultation looks like. We'll also ask you to fill out something that we call a NutriQ or a symptom burden questionnaire. That's about a 300 question long questionnaire that really takes a look at, okay, what are all of these potential symptoms that you're experiencing? And what we do with that is take that, graph it, and create a report that looks at potential patterns and symptoms and nutritional deficiencies that we can look at to support you and your body. It's not diagnostic, but those patterns, we see a lot of correlation to different symptom presentations. So that's a really all-inclusive support that we include in the initial consultation.
And it can be done virtual or in person, or is it just one or the other?
Either option, we can do it either virtually or in person. We utilize Zoom, so we have that ability.
Great.
Thank you.
And then while folks out are finishing up their survey, this is just the last slide for us. So again, social media to follow Paige and the business she works for, as well as Smart Starts information, our website, our social media. If you're local to Greater Nashua, there's in-person events. It's something that I would definitely check out even if you're not local to Greater Nashua, because we have virtual events such as these where we would hope anyone in the state or even outside of New Hampshire would want to join. And then last week is our final week for our series, and we're going to be talking about how AI can help parents lighten the mental load. So, very interesting. Can't even wrap my brain around that one. But before we go ahead and wrap up, any final questions for Paige? Any specific questions or clarifying questions? All right, I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for learning with us. Thank you, Paige, for
Thank you.
giving up an hour of your evening and sharing your expertise with us. We
Thanks.
really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. It was really nice to be here, and I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your night.